This Chevy Corvette is John Martin's new toy.
This is a 2016 Z06 Corvette. It's tricked out a little bit. It used to be owned by a NASCAR driver.
He says the top speed is 210 miles per hour, but he's not sure. He hasn't tested it out yet.
It's so cold with the ice and snow, I can't drive it. You know, it's the wrong season.
But when Martin took his new whip to Tyler Automotive for a software update, a technician took that slick car for a quick spin. It was all caught on the car's dash camera.
Hit 94 in a 45-mile-an-hour zone, and then you see him kind of swerve into the other lane, and then back coming on US 12 up in Niles, he kind of gets on it in first and second, runs it up to 90 again, and that's when I said, this is unacceptable.
Scott Tyler, the owner of Tyler Automotive, wouldn't speak on camera, but he told me over the phone the whole situation is a, quote, total joke. Tyler told me the technician admitted to hitting the accelerator too hard at one point, but Tyler says for the most part, his employee was driving, quote, like a grandmother.
That's a pretty cool grandma, I guess, that doesn't mind breaking the law. That's crazy.
Martin took his story to the Berrien County Sheriff's Department.
There may be some reckless driving type charges brought, but it's too early to tell.
Whatever happens in the courts, Martin is more frustrated with the way Tyler handled things.
I think the tech was tempted. You know, the car is there and he wanted to take it out. I get it. It's a beautiful car. It's a fast car. It's loud. But it's not his car.
Police from 2 counties are investigating after 4 people were robbed at gunpoint.
All of those robberies took place in Granger area subdivisions. WSBT 22's Katlin Connin is live on Santa Monica Drive right now. And Katlin, that was one of 3 neighborhoods hit in St. Joe County.
Jennifer, the 4th victim was returning to his home in Elkhart County, and police say all of the victims were coming home when they were approached by suspects as they were getting out of their cars. And when they did open the door, the suspect pulled a gun and demanded cash and valuables.
Especially in some of these suburban neighborhoods, you really don't think about things like this happening.
It's a very safe neighborhood. A lot of the neighbors look out for each other, kind of keep an eye on each other's places.
We do have a homeowners association watch, so we try to keep an eye on everything. We do have a couple policemen that live in our subdivision.
Suspects took phones, purses, tools, and even a gun. These homeowners had a hard time believing their quiet neighborhoods could be so dangerous.
I've never been scared to come home or be in my own home. Sometimes I get home late from work, and just the fact that somebody's out there, especially with a gun, is kind of scary.
Police were all over these neighborhoods, knocking on doors and asking questions.
We believe that these incidents are connected, and we believe with the number of witnesses that we have that we're going to be able to develop some pretty good leads fairly quickly.
Neighbors hope the robbers are caught quickly.
Well, there's a lot of kids in this neighborhood.
Neighbors tell me they're being extra vigilant today, and Assistant Chief Thompson says he is working with Elkhart County police officers. Again, they do believe these robberies are connected, and Thompson says they already have a few leads. Live in Granger, Katlin Connin, WSBT 22 News.
New at 6, many of you in St. Joseph County are playing a waiting game.
That's right, waiting for word on an appeal. WSBT 22's Katlin Connin is at the live desk. Katlin, thousands of people in St. Joe County appealed their property tax assessments.
I told you in July about how those assessments came back significantly higher for a lot of people. Those homeowners say their properties were valued tens of thousands of dollars higher than in years past. Now they want answers. Ronald Coleman is keeping a close eye on his calendar. He appealed his property tax assessment and called to check on it about 2 weeks later.
And I spoke to Randy on the 4th of October. Randy was very nice. He said, well, another 4 to 6 weeks wait to find out anything.
That's so long.
This is unreasonable, totally unreasonable.
Coleman says the county assessor just isn't organized enough.
You know, I taught for 40 years. If I ran my classroom like this, it would all fall apart in about 2 minutes.
Coleman told me he doesn't know why the appeal process is taking so long. So I went to the assessor's office to find out for myself. But Rosemary Mandrici had no time for me. Luckily, I met up with the president of the county council, Raphael Morton, downstairs.
I had a meeting with Rosemary Mandrici yesterday, and there's a lot of factors that go into taking a long time to actually get your appeal answered. such as, number one, people tend to forget that we are the 5th largest county in the state of Indiana.
Morton says new construction or homes for sale in your neighborhood can also affect property tax assessments. Any changes like that slow down the appeal process. But if you do appeal, Morton promises your paperwork will be reviewed.
Again, a lot of times, if you appeal, that appeal may come back in your favor.
Meanwhile, Kalman is still waiting.
Get on the stick. You want to put the rates out, then you have the people who can manage the appeals.
Kalman says at the very least, the assessor should have given him a receipt saying his appeal had been received. He says he'd also like a timeline of when that appeal will be completed. At the live desk, Katlin Connin, WSBT 22 News.
Mom, coming.
Is he?
Grant Gillespie is 7 years old. He has ADHD, sensory processing disorder, and he's on the autism spectrum.
If you take the time to get to know him, he will melt your heart and he will become your favorite.
But don't expect Grant to show you his toys if he comes over to play. He has other interests.
He loves doors, he loves keys, anything that can open and shut. I mean, even a trash can lid. He will sit there and play with a trash can lid.
Grant also likes to keep a pretty strict schedule.
He's not very patient.
With the time change over the weekend, things have been tough. Mom says Grant has been wanting to go to bed at 5:30. Then he's awake as early as 3 in the morning.
And the issue is that the earlier he gets up, it makes him wait longer to get on the bus, which then gets him irritated, and it's just a mess.
Dr. Ian Melton works with kids with autism at Riverbend. He says Grant isn't the only kid who doesn't have great coping skills when it comes to change.
It's probably the most common behavioral deficit we see, which leads to hitting, kicking, crying, tantruming. That's what we see as it's a result of things that change.
He says you should try to prepare your kid for that change as soon as possible.
If you're in the public school setting, asking your teacher if they can start to talk about those things, and looking at schedules like this is the day on the calendar that it's going to change. We're going to go to bed a little later. You're probably going to wake up a little later.
Grant and his family have 4 months to prepare for the next time change.
Sometimes I wonder if it's really necessary, but, you know, we just go on, I guess.